And actually, well, Bob was the one who spoke today, but this was one of the things that I highlighted. And it was, I mean, just something very small, and I don't want to get into the bigger stuff that is concerning me, so I'll just go very simple because I don't want to overspeak or speak incorrectly.
Where is it, Jess?
Number 9, it's going to be, let's see, public participations at meetings. So there's a couple of things here. I'm going to go to a really simple one so that way we can all understand it. And if there's one thing that's off, then I have to look at everything. So number 9, it says here, wearing a mask, costume, disguise, or other regalia and paraphernalia that actually disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of city council meeting. Now the biggest thing is the way I look at it and looking at vagueness. What might disrupt me would be totally different of what disrupts you, or the mayor, or Zach, or any of the other council members. So what does that exactly look like? I mean, for wearing a mask, what does that look like for other individuals? It's just very vague. And so when it's vague, it's very hard to be enforced. So what does that look like? I mean, can we get more specific on certain things? What else? We had another one, speaking issues. Sorry, there was a ton of them. I don't want to get into too much because, again, I really would like to be able to sit down. And I'm asking you guys as my constituents, after talking to staff, we do not have to rush this. There is no rush on this to give me 2 more weeks just to be able to dive in and get a little bit more understanding about this. There's no rush. I would like to be able to have everybody on board to make sure that the city is safe and that me as their city council member and all of us are working together to just make sure we're all on board. I'm just hoping you guys can see that.
Did you have a question for Peter, though?
Well, just in general, I guess. So, Peter, how does that look in general as far as vagueness? I mean, that's just being one thing that I found, and I know until we talked, I really want to have that conversation with you.
Well, with respect to number 9, the prohibited conduct is not wearing a mask, costume, or disguise or other regalia. It's wearing it in such a way that actually disturbs, disrupts, disturbs, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the city council meeting.
Okay, so
obviously, if somebody's wearing a mask for COVID, it doesn't disrupt anything. But there have been instances in several cities where people wear masks, wear costumes, and then stand near the podium so that people are intimidated from going to the podium, or people are afraid to speak because somebody is wearing a costume that's designed to intimidate them.
Right.
So those are the kind of behaviors that you're trying to address.
And that's the thing. What might intimidate me is totally different from the other 4 city council members that are here.
That's true, but under the law, it is the council members that need to make that decision based on the language of the constitutional cases that have come down, that the meetings actually disrupted, disturbed, or impedes the orderly conduct.
So if I have somebody who's a Satanist and comes down here, and I'm just being for real because we've seen this. They come down here in a vampire costume because they're a Satanist. That would offend me, but it might not offend others. So at what point in time do we take away their freedom of speech because I feel offended? And I would never want to take away somebody's freedom of speech because I have to have thick skins and stuff. If anything I've learned in here that I've learned is comments come out or anything comes up, I'm a city council member and I just got to roll things off my back. If there's anything I've learned, but how do I or anybody else can impede somebody's freedom of speech because of a disguise that they wear or some type of freedom of expression? That doesn't make sense to me, and it's vague for me as a city council member, and that's why I'm asking for this to just be able to give me another 2 weeks.
Right.
So it's just, and that's just one thing out of all of them. That's not all of it. So.
And I would tend to agree with her because I guess I was not thinking that this was a vote today. I thought it was going to be discussion. And so, because when I saw draft, I thought this was just a draft and we were going to come back with an actual. And so I want another couple of weeks to digest this too. So I'm asking for the same thing. Let's just wait. I just want to look it over a little bit more.
Zach, I see you reaching for something.
And I don't mean any disrespect by this. I understand wanting a little more time. when I got the email on Thursday, with this in there, I dive into it, right? And I had them printed off and spent a lot of time looking over these 5 policies. There's not really anything controversial in here. I think we're making it controversial in that if there's actual disruption, we'll know it. Like, you'll just know when there's disruption, right? Sort of throwing out all these hypotheticals. We could go down the rabbit hole of hypothetical and everything, right? I would just sort of caution on that. I'm confident, at least personally, I spent the time to digest this, ask my questions, and come here prepared to vote on this. I would like us to do that. So I'm just being honest.
Okay, thanks, Matt.
So a couple of things. One is, a lot of what happens in the law is in the eye of the beholder. And the Supreme Court has mentioned that on more than one occasion in case law. But the vagueness isn't vague enough for me to know, do we sit here at the, 2 weeks from now and discuss what types of vampires we want to let into the room and what classifies as a offensive vampire versus a non? I can't foresee us doing that. My sense is instead what we do is these policies are policies. So if I see something that's offensive or you see something that's offensive, you can mention it, and then we've got, the Jedi Master over there, Mr. Peter Thorson, to be able to tell us, are we meeting a legal threshold on requesting that person remove their mask, right? And if we don't, or if he doesn't think it meets that test, then we don't do that. And if we've made a mistake, well, then we get sued. And I'm okay with that, because the whole point of having these policies in place is because there are a billion scenarios that have been not tested by the courts. And so there's no language that I'm going to see on this that's going to provide me the comfort level that says this is the threshold of what constitutes an illegal vampire at City Hall, right? I don't know we're ever going to get to that place. The other thing too I'd mention is, and again, no disrespect meant, but we've been working on this for 2 years and 2 months. This was brought back for council discussion in July 13th of this year. And then 3 weeks ago, we had a discussion at council on this item and said, here's the things we are going to bring back immediately. And so for the past 3 weeks, we've known that these items are here. A little over a week ago, we received the draft agenda from the city clerk's office telling us this is what's coming. And then we received the staff report with the full language on Thursday. So we've had weeks to digest this information. And, look, if you're like me and I see something on the agenda that I have a question or concern about, I basically just reach out to city manager's office and I say, hey, there's this thing coming up and I need more information on it. And I often do that before the staff report comes out. And if I see something in the staff report, I'll often set up time to be able to have that conversation ahead of the meeting. But in this case, these items, 4 of these items already exist, right? 4 of these items meet the legal sniff test of what we need to have in place. And 4 of these items, again, are just simply policy. So if we don't like the policy, and if it comes up that we get inundated with vampires at the next meeting, we can actually bring that forward at a future meeting and say, okay, you know what? We need a specific vampire policy. But until we get to that place, that's my concern too, is this is a guideline. This is a guideline for us to be able to operate, to be able to understand, and be able to turn to this at some point and say, well, policy number 2 says this, should we enact that right now? And it's a yes or no decision. We don't actually have to implement any of these things. It is at the discretion of the mayor, the council, city attorney, and everybody else to weigh in and say, no, it's okay to have, Tuesday vampire night at City Hall. And I'm okay with that, but I don't see anything in here that concerns me enough to say we need to spend an inordinate amount of time reviewing information that we've had in front of us for, since 1994 and 2011.
Okay, so I'll keep going then. So I just gave the vampire issue just because it's something that would be offensive to some people. So thank you for the vampire day. Okay, speaking on an issue that is not within the jurisdiction of the city council. So this obviously has been a hot topic. We've had issues come up here to the podium that have been worldly, national, throughout other states that obviously we see can end up coming here to our city. So what does that mean on speaking on an issue that is not within the jurisdiction of the city council? What does that look like? Does that mean, to me, I'm sitting here thinking, does that mean we stop somebody because they're speaking a certain way? And that's, again, this is where I'm talking about First Amendment rights. It is, again, a very hot topic right now. And so if I'm going to tell somebody, well, you're not speaking about Temecula, so you have no right to talk, that's how I'm reading that. If I'm not, this is where I want to be able to sit down with our attorney. Another one, speaking to the audience rather than the city council. It's public comment, and it's not a comment to, it's not a council comment. Again, First Amendment. Again, I just need clarification. If you guys are going to vote, you're going to vote however you're going to do it. I would just appreciate, as your constituent, to be able to have a full five votes. We always want to have that. You can't give us 2 weeks. 2 weeks, it's really not that big of a deal. But if it can make me feel good, if let's say I find something, or let's say Stu does, or let's say Mayor Marianne finds something, we talked about it. Well, I'd rather do it right than have to backpedal and redo it. And I don't want to be sued if we don't have to. If we can take 2 weeks, it's better than have to be sued and sit there and have to spend weeks or months within litigation. That just doesn't make sense to me. So I say let's have 2 weeks, let's just go through this. Even if we've had 2 years, 2 weeks is nothing, it's 14 days. We're supposed to be working together as a team. I'm asking for 2 weeks. Is that really that hard to get 2 weeks? I'm really asking for it, please. I'm not talking about Vampire Nights. I'm just giving an example.
Well,
I,
Peter's here, I mean, you can ask him anything.
There's a lot.
And actually, I think it's better to
Yeah.
ask in public than